Let's get messy. You see the title, we're talking twists. We made it through the long off season into Big Brother 26, and we all know the staples of Big Brother at this point: problematic people and twists. Although I'm only choosing to talk about one of those today, at least I hope. Whether you love them or choose to be normal, we're always going to deal with twists, a shakeup, something that spices up the game from the normal format we all know and watch the show for. And I've decided that I don't hate myself enough, and I'm going through the archives of Big Brother and ranking every single twist in the show's history, from the bottom of the barrel to the cream of the crop. Before I deep dive into this monstrosity of a show, I need to break down some ground rules. First of all, what am I considering a twist of Big Brother? Now, my personal definition, along with Big Brother Wiki and some help from the one and only Ethanimal, shout out to that icon. A twist of the game is anything that deviates or shakes up the game from the original format that was laid out all the way back in the year 2001. The only seasons of the show that will not be mentioned, as they don't have any twists, are Big Brother 1, because that is an entirely different show, and Big Brother 2, as that is the model we will be using to determine what is a twist. Oh, and also, none of the spin-offs are getting mentioned. You might need to lock me up in an asylum if I ever talk the twist on fucking Celebrity Big Brother or something. I'm already crazy enough as it is, that's not happening. And the other major point I'll make is that all of these are my opinion, based on my criteria. That criteria comes from the way I view Big Brother and how I feel these twists change the game. It boils down to two main points. First of all, how does this twist affect the game? Twists that are inherently unfair to one person or a select group of people are going to rank very low in this area, while a twist that feels opportunistic and fair to everybody, or at least everybody involved, will make me rank that twist much higher in this category. And the second criteria I have is, how did this twist play out on the show? There are some twists that in concept sound really fun and exciting, but in the actual season it played out on, nothing really came from it. Or there are twists on the opposite side of the spectrum that seem completely unfair and biased, but it played out almost as ideally as it could have on the show, making pretty good TV and maybe leaving a fonder idea in your mind about that twist than it actually is on paper. I don't have an exact formula I use to carefully put these twists in order based on these two criteria points I have, but when I went twist by twist, I was thinking of the formula, and this is the list I ended up with. Whether you agree or disagree, this is not a definitive list, not even close. It's just my personal list based on whatever the fuck I'm thinking. I'm talking a lot more than I thought I would have in this intro. I have one last note to give before we get into the actual list. We got 78 damn twists being ranked, and I don't think these are all of the twists in Big Brother. I'm probably missing a couple of twists that are thrown in there, or if you're talking like have-nots and shit, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about twists that affected the game, okay? All 78 twists I have here are the important ones, at least in my mind, and the ones that are worth talking about. Just give me some grace here. I'm talking about every twist I possibly can from number 78 all the way to number 1. So please, if you can, subscribe to the channel and like this video. It takes 2 clicks and half a second and would mean so much for everything I put into this video. So enjoy the ranking as we find the worst twist of all time, the best twist of all time, and everything in between, with a monster ranking of every single twist in the history of Big Brother. So we're doing it like this, but let's get into it. As you can see, a lot of fucking twists. But starting at the bottom, number 78 in the bottom of the bottom tier, the oh so infamous worst twist of all time. Out of every single twist Big Brother has shown us, which one of them sucks the most? And this might be a shock to some people, because while I feel this is a terrible twist and people accept it as such, it's not as infamous as the other twists that I think stand out when you think worst of the worst twist. But I'm here to add my opinion, and my opinion is that the hacker competition is the worst twist in the history of Big Brother. Holy shit, this was bad on every level. The twist itself was bad with how much power they gave the winner of this competition. They get to replace one of the two initial nominees, choose somebody for the veto, and block an eviction vote. Why the fuck is that a thing? I hate twists that are super unnecessary and super unfair. This fits so well into both categories. There is no universe in which the HOH's allies should be on the block, let alone going home due to a power outside of the HOH's hands. That is quite literally what the game of Big Brother is. And the hacker twist said fuck you and decided to just ruin and take over the game for 2 weeks. None of the social strategy mattered. Nothing that happened prior to this moment made any impact when a game-breaking twist was dropped on us. For 2 weeks nonetheless. Are they fucking kidding me? And just on paper, this is bad. But when I bring in results and how it affected the specific season it was on, this is how we reached the bottom placement. The twists literally killed BB20. We're given the greatest pre-jury in the history of Big Brother, and I will not be debated with. And then the hacker twist arrived, giving us a standard week that only surrounded the hacker twist, and then somebody going home on their allies HOH the very next week, skewing the numbers in the house so far in the favor of level 6 that the game tanked from this moment on. As much as I hate a lot of twists in Big Brother, I don't know many, if any, twists that legitimately killed a season of Big Brother. But this one did. So congrats, because of that philosophy, you've earned yourself a spot at the very bottom of the list. Moving right down from one shitty twist to another shitty twist. Where is it at? Camp Comeback was terrible. It's gonna fall to number 77. I don't actually hate the idea of the eliminated competitors staying in the house as they await the opportunity to return. They can still strategize and play the game as anybody else, except that they're not in the game. The issue is that nobody in the house took that memo and instead used Camp Comeback as an excuse to ostracize everybody who's been evicted. It gave us super boring weeks and super boring rounds because the players were going to stay in the house right after getting evicted. So nobody was going to ruffle any feathers. They were going to keep it straightforward, keep it super boring. So look at that. They ruined the game. Pair that with the fact that the first 3 house guests eliminated were all POC, and them having to wear these outfits while being shunned by the house was a terrible look and a terrible idea. I mean, look at this photo. That's all I need to explain. Nothing fun came from Camp Comeback. It literally ruined the pre-jury of BB21. But it's not dead last because I feel that, as I said, on paper, it's not terrible. And only the pre-jury was ruined. While with the hacker comp, that was terrible on paper, and it ruined the entire post-jury of the season, the most important part of every season. So Camp Comeback, it's terrible, but it's not the worst. Just second worst. Number 76 is a twist that ruined 3 weeks of a season, so you can kind of see a trend here of how I'm gauging the worst twist of all time. And for this one in particular, at number 76, it's Zombie Week. This is not recency bias, I promise you. The twist is really that terrible. It's bad enough having the 2 most recently eliminated competitors get back into the house, spend an entire week with nothing but competitions between those 2 eliminated competitors, only for both of them to be gone within the next 3 weeks. But add on to that, these being 2 of the most hated players, if not the most hated players on the season within the online community, on top of them telling us that these 2 players are coming back in the house before the double eviction. So we get to sit here, watch a whole double eviction play out, some of the most exciting nights of a Big Brother season, and I will show you why people love them when we get higher into this tier list. And the whole time, we know it means absolutely nothing. It's a complete waste of our time, a complete waste of a twist. You ruined a double eviction, a week of the show, and then 2 weeks of the show afterwards. Shame on you. You're down near the bottom at number 76. Now, at 75 here, aside from Camp Comeback, this is one of the more infamously terrible twists in the history of Big Brother that somehow appeared on 2 seasons because we were so desperate to see it be used. And it's not what you're thinking of. Instead, it's the coup d'etat. Yeah, it's bad. We all know how this works and how unfair the coup d'etat is. Fuck whatever the HOH is doing. This random person voted for by America gets to be handed a power to literally make their own nominations during the live eviction. The fuck was the entire week for if something nobody could have accounted for existed right in front of us? At least in All Stars, they had a competition to determine who got the power. That's a little better. But in BB11, that shit was so ass. And tell me why the fuck Shima wasn't allowed to vote? Like, damn, neither of the people on the block were nominated by her. That's some bullshit. I would have flipped my shit too if this homophobic dude from Chicago just fucked over my entire game due to nothing he actually earned. Thank God the HOH could compete in the next HOH, or this would be at the very bottom. It's really bad. Number 74 is a downright cruel twist. It's the day one evictions. Now, I'm not going to specify the different methods for how these day one evictions happened. I'm grouping them into one shitty category here. Day one evictions have happened 4 times in Big Brother, and that is 4 times too many. Did Jody's tragic departure not teach you anything, Big Brother? Shame on you, Jody was goddamn robbed. Justice for Glenn, justice for Cameron, justice for David. To get through all of casting, interviews, finals, and sequester, to get your one shot at the game that you love, only for it to be taken away from you after 24 hours or even less, is sickening. It exists for dramatic effect with no care as to how it affects those who fall victim to it. We get no opportunity to see how any of these people would play the game. Never do this again, Big Brother, or I am fighting you. Number 73 is a twist that is downright terrible. But it played out in almost the best way humanly possible, which is what saves it from being near the very, very bottom. And that is the Festy Bestie twist from BB24. Big Brother scares me a lot of the time because they really thought introducing a duos twist into the game was a good idea. You get to pair up with somebody based on how you did in the HOH comp. You get nominated as a duo, and come eviction night, the duo on the block will go against each other in a vote. Oh gee, I wonder if there's a way to game this twist. Oops, there is. The majority alliance has to do one thing: split up. Everybody pairs up with a different person so that no matter who is HOH and no matter who is on the block, the majority alliance has the power to control the game for 3 weeks, which is exactly what happened for 3 weeks. That is ruining the game and in line with these other twists I have at the bottom. What saves it, however, is because despite the majority getting their way for the rest of the pre-jury, that majority was the leftovers, a super likable and rootable alliance at the time that formed during week 3. The first week of the Festy Bestie twist. The results were standard and did exactly what the twist would do every time it's introduced. But those in power were so likable, along with them giving us great TV during these 3 weeks, that it kinda gets a boost because in the one instance of it existing, it worked out in the best possible scenario. Everything is telling me this twist sucks, and it does suck, trust me, I understand it. But due to my criteria, I have a little bit of a soft spot for it, so it moves up above some of these twists when it would be very close and have an argument for being at the bottom, but it's not, it's at 73. Number 72 is a very similar twist to Festy Besties. That gets a boost because I don't think this twist can be gamed and necessarily ruin a season, but it's extremely unfair and cruel to a select few players, and that one will be the Soulmates twist from BB9. I don't like a duos twist, and I especially don't like a duos twist that is randomly assigned by production to screw over like 3 people. I think it's absolutely insane that Big Brother thought it would be a fun idea to evict 2 people at the same time. Like, what the fuck did my boy Parker do except be paired up with somebody's girlfriend who also sucks at Big Brother and is also a terrible person? What the fuck did Alex do to get paired up with somebody super unlikable, where despite him being one of the most beloved guys in the house, they still evicted him and Amanda because Amanda was despised. People should not lose their opportunity to play Big Brother because of something outside of their control, and that is exactly what the Soulmates twist does. So it's bad. Number 72. Number 71 is now one of the most infamously bad twists of all time. And I wasn't gonna let it slip too far down the list. Don't be crazy. We got the Battle of the Block. This was a mess that went on for way too long. There did not need to be 2 HOHs, there did not need to be 4 nominees, and most importantly, there did not need to be an easy loophole that the majority alliance can fit through in order to steamroll the entire duration of this twist. As long as one of the two people that won HOH was in the majority alliance, the week was over. It buried the underdogs and any opportunity they had at succeeding because it gave so much more power to the majority alliance. And I hate a twist that gives more power to the majority. And not to mention, it wasn't a fun twist to watch either. Nobody wants to see a competition every 3 episodes that one pair is throwing because they want to keep their ally as the HOH. Not to mention, all the women in Donnie were getting nominated, but that's none of my business. It's awful, and you all know it's awful. The only reason I don't put this at the very bottom because it was watchable during BB17. It wasn't abused to give the majority alliance all the power, at least for the most part. So I can at least appreciate it for that, if nothing else. Number 70 is an underreported twist that is terrible, and people need to know about it. This twist got saved from certain scrutiny because it didn't actually go through. But goddamn, Backstage Boss was bad. Essentially, whoever was granted safety as the backstage boss, in this case Pooch, was safe for the week, but couldn't do anything. At the same time, he has to nominate 3 people who are going to be vulnerable for the week. First of all, that's so unfair to Pooch, who gets put on the spot and starts off on an uneven playing field with 3 different people. But the lore of this twist goes a little deeper. One of the 3 backstage people gets saved by America. Cool. Then on eviction night, one of the 2 remaining backstage players will compete against the evicted house guest in a competition to determine who stays and who goes. I'm assuming the way they determine who goes against the evicted house guest is Pooch's decision. But why does this twist exist? And goddamn, is it not fair? It has no upside and brings nothing good to the show for existing, and I'm so glad it didn't go through. Thanks, Paloma, you did something right. This twist is trash. Number 69, we're really moving here. Goddamn. Whatever, this twist is nowhere near as bad as all the twists we've talked about so far, but it really sucked in concept, and that is the MVP twist in Big Brother 15. Pretty much a fan vote by America every week to grant one player who they think is playing the best to anonymously add a 3rd nominee, aka voting their favorite player every single week. And oh boy, wouldn't you know it, one of the house guests is the sister of a Big Brother legend. That is just wonderful. She wins MVP the first 3 weeks to the point where Big Brother had to change the format so that America was actually the MVP and voted for the 3rd nominee. It's a complete shit show, and not to mention the MVP completely controlled these first 3 weeks. Despite the HOH 2 of those 3 weeks targeting Alyssa and her side, thanks to the MVP twist, that 3rd nominee went home over her both times. I'm not complaining about that from a rooting perspective, but David and Nick would have never gone home if it was a normal fucking week. So the twist is bad. Case closed. Number 68, I'm simply wrapping up all the duos twists right here because again, they all suck. But the best of them, I guess, is Dynamic Duos from BB13. This is pretty much the Festy Bestie twist, except you can't game this one like you could with Festy Besties. You're pairing up with somebody you actually have good vibes from, and obviously the returning players are with their ride or die, unless you're Dick and Danielle, but whatever. So you aren't next to somebody you know you won't be going home against. You don't want to be on the block next to them, unless you're Portia and Keith, but that's because Portia friendzoned Keith. Who's asking? I think the twist is stupid because some of the pairs are literal married couples and they're going against strangers who paired up in a 5-second schoolyard pick thing. It's bad, but it's not game-breakingly bad, at least not as much as the other duos twists, so it's at 68. Number 67 is stupid. It's the Pendant of Protection. We aren't that dumb, Big Brother. We all know why you put that Pendant of Protection in the Den of Temptation. You wanted to give your one returning player safety for the first 3 weeks. Not very smooth. There's nothing more I can say except that giving somebody protection for 3 weeks straight is not fun, it's not fair, and not good for the soul. That shit screwed over Cody so fucking bad, and I hate Cody, but I can still admit it's not fair. Whatever, man. BB19 is a curse season, and we should have known after seeing this stupid fucking twist. Number 66 is going to round out my bottom tier of twists. So, this is the least shitty of the shittiest twist, the terrible, no good, very bad twist. And it's gonna go to that damn rewind button from BB16. I don't know, maybe I'm delusional, but resetting and replaying the exact same week of Big Brother over the course of 2 weeks during the most boring part of the season maybe wasn't a great idea. I don't know, that's just me. And to add, this spectacle of making it a button and acting like it's the player's choice, knowing damn well the button is being hit, is so lame. Not to mention Frankie, the person who won both the HOH and the veto in the original week, guaranteeing his spot in the Final Four, goes home in 5th place because of this twist? Oh yeah, what good comes out of this twist? Can anybody tell me? Maybe we avoided a Frankie Grande Big Brother win? We got a Derek win, is that any better? Exactly, lame as hell. We've moved up a hypothetical tier to the doo-doo tier. These twists, they still suck, but they aren't completely game-breaking and don't exactly ruin a season of Big Brother. And number 65 is just a weird one I don't like. It's the power couple from BB9. I know I switched these, I accidentally put the soulmates one with the power. It's fine, don't worry about it. Why did this exist? If they simply casted too many people, they could have just not casted as many people. Instead, the entire cast is now in a free-for-all where one pair of players that have just met need to single-handedly evict another pair of people that have also just met, just because they said so. I don't have a defense for this decision. I think it's chaotic as hell and starts the game off quickly but completely unfair to pretty much everybody involved. Whether you're the one to win the power or you get evicted because of it. You have no opportunity to save yourself except for sucking up to these random people that you just met. This is only saved because it played out in kind of the best case scenario. Some idiot weirdo named Jacob got himself evicted and the poor ex-girlfriend he took with him got to come back into the game. So, good times, but bad twist. Number 64, I'll keep it short. It's the halting hex from BB19. I don't really care for having nobody go home after a week of Big Brother. It's very boring, and unless we are in for a special case, the house dynamics are gonna stay the same. Meaning, the entire week is reliant on competitions instead of actual gameplay, which again, I don't care for. It slows down the game and rarely is going to be this big television moment the producers probably thought it would be. It just happened to happen on Paul's HOH, so it's kind of funny, but it's not good. It's number 64. The next 2 entries on this list I'm going to talk about together because they're pretty much the exact same twist, except one of them has a slight modification to it. So number 63 is officially the Diamond Power Veto, and number 62 is the Panic Power from BB21. Both of these are quite literally the Diamond Power Veto, except the Panic Power can change the Golden Power Veto into the Diamond Power Veto. And I'm just not a fan of a twist this powerful that isn't earned. It's not fair in the slightest. You have the ability to take down a nominee and put up anybody in their place who isn't HOH or the veto winner, with no time to campaign or defend yourself. I don't think Sheriff Kathy was going to be some great player in BB12, but she was absolutely robbed because of the Diamond Power Veto screwing her over in a week in which she should have never been in danger. It's way too overpowered, which is why I actually think the Panic Power sucks, but balances out the overpowered twist, at least a little bit. The reason it balances out is because the results of the veto competition actually matter in this case. You need the right person to win the veto that would help you be able to use this power to create the Diamond Power Veto. And 2, it's not going to screw somebody over on eviction night with no warning being given. It'll be higher than the Diamond Power Veto, but not too high. We'll leave these at 63 and 62 respectively. Number 61 is probably one of the most unfair twists in the history of the show, but I think the results and dynamics of that twist are what boosted up from near the very bottom to number 61 here. That is America's Player. I'm not really going to talk about that 1 week version that happened to Dan on BB10. This is all about Eric from BB8. Being chosen as America's Player, Eric's entire game was now and never his own. Every single thing he had to do in the game was decided by America. Who to get nominated, who to get evicted, and everything in between. He was told what to do and had to follow through with that. And because America obviously sucks at Big Brother, they had made the wrong moves at almost every opportunity. But that's also kind of why I like the twist and how it played out in some sick way. Eric was by far the best and most capable player of that season, so America's player was basically just blindfolding him and tying both of his arms around his back and seeing if he can still maneuver to and win this game. And he almost did it, goddamn, and if this was almost any other contestant to ever play Big Brother, I don't think it has the same success as far as longevity and the power Eric held in the house, despite doing many moves he did not want to do. He basically had to give Evil Dick $1 million, which sucks, but it's a compelling narrative and a very iconic twist, which boosted it just enough to reach number 61, even though I can see the argument for why people would have this much lower. I think the results are a big factor as to why it moves up a little bit, even though I can recognize that shit's so unfair. Number 60 is quite the doozy. I could have separated all of these into their own separate twists because each season this happens, it goes on in a different way. But that felt redundant, so I put every single time a house guest returned to the game as one twist to be placed at number 60. Now, Cliff does not count because that was just what Camp Comeback was, and Camp Comeback was much more than just one person returning to the game. And I'm not going to include Jag returning either because, again, that is a specific twist that is more than just a player returning to the game, so that one will be talked about later on in the list. There isn't really much to say about this. I'm not a huge fan of players returning to the game after being evicted. For one, if you've been evicted, chances are you're a flawed player, which means your return is not going to go much better for you, which has been proven through the statistics of every single player returning to the game not having much success aside from maybe one or two people. Not the great TV you think it would be. The top person you would want to return is almost never the person who actually returns. And when they do return, they always play too cautiously as well, which just leads to boring television and a boring outcome more than likely. So overall, it's not a very good or exciting twist that kind of stalls the season more than boosts it up. But I'll do y'all one favor before I move on and rank very quickly each of these returning player situations from my least favorite to my favorite. And by the way, this is ranking the actual mechanism in which they determined who would return to the house, not the actual players returning themselves, by the way. Scotty returning in that carnival game in BB20 is last for sure. Judd in BB15 is next. Helen was pushed. Then Victor's second return in BB18 was basically Judd's, except, better, I guess. Nicole's return in BB16 with that game of shuffleboard was weird. Brendan returning in BB13 against Lawan and his superpowers. Chaser and the popularity contest landslide is next. Cody and his little Battleback Journey tournament thing was pretty good despite Cody being a terrible person. Victor's Battleback Showdown was very fun and chaotic. Very Redemption Island coded, but I actually liked it in this case. Crazy James and the vote was really unique and a really cool concept about voting for the devil you know against the devil you don't. And the best of them all is of course going to be the first one they ever did with Amy returning in BB3. How bad do you want it? It's a simple concept, but it's a great concept and by far the best of them all. Those are my rankings of the returning house guest mechanisms, so I'll move on to number 59. Some people may disagree with me here, but 59 is going to the bonus life from BB20. The power app that Sam won that gave her the power to give somebody, including herself, the chance to return to the game if evicted. Who would have thunk somebody having the chance to return is going to be low on this list after I just talked about how I don't like people returning to the game. But what makes this twist bad is a couple things. To start, the twist is going to be used no matter what. If it's not used in the first 3 weeks, whoever is evicted in week 4 automatically gets the chance to stay. Why? Well, I know the answer. It's because of scheduling reasons, but that's so lame to me. What if that completely screwed over Sam's game? It's not necessary, and I feel if it doesn't get used, it doesn't get used. Just let it be. That's the name of the twist. Instead, they just force Sam to use it on somebody random. And 2, the competition to return is so lame and so easy. A fucking 6-piece puzzle, and you have 2.5 minutes to solve it. Who could possibly fail that? They're basically begging the person to return to the game. That point I just made, of course, will bring me to why this twist shot higher in the rankings than I think it normally would have based on the twist on paper. Because Caitlyn's puzzle was given to us because of this twist. One of the most iconic moments in Big Brother history. So I have to give this twist its flowers. That is simply too iconic. It found its way up to number 59 simply because of Caitlyn. That is her power. Number 58 is kind of the opposite of number 59. Not literally, but in the sense that the twist itself is not terrible and can bring some great moments. But fundamentally, it broke the game of Big Brother in the one time that it happened, and worked out in possibly the worst way, and that is the power of invisibility from BB25. This is not the Matt Power thing, this was the invisible HOH week that happened later on that season, where Jag won and was crowned the invisible HOH, where nobody actively knew except for the HOH who won it, so all the actions of the HOH were anonymous. Not the worst twist I've ever seen, especially when we have other points of data showing in BB Can this exact twist going down. But here's where I have my issues. To start, it played out terribly. Jag basically fessed up to winning the HOH before the first night was over, so it's no longer an invisible HOH. It was just Jag's HOH. There goes the entire twist. Gone. So it's just a normal HOH. But I have an even larger issue. The fact that Big Brother let Jag compete and potentially win the next HOH is bullshit. I understand it's supposed to be anonymous, so in theory, nobody would have known who won the previous HOH. But we have an identical scenario that happened with another twist we will be talking about very soon, where that person had to throw the next HOH in a very similar situation. The point of Big Brother is that you can't win back-to-back HOHs, otherwise, we're just playing the fucking challenge or Survivor or something like that. This has been in the rules of the game from the start, so you can't win out your way to the end of the game. You have to give and take. You're not just going to be in power the entire time. So fuck you, Big Brother, for doing that, and fuck Jag for winning back-to-back HOHs and really tanking that season. It's some bullshit, honestly, and that is the main reason why this twist is falling down all the way to number 58. Number 57, wow, who would have thunk it? It's the other invisible HOH twist with the Coin of Destiny from BB23. This was what Claire won so she could overthrow the nominations and become the invisible HOH. It's the exact same thing I just explained, except it didn't get instantly revealed and Claire actually had to throw the next HOH comp like a normal twist should be. So it moves up one spot. Number 56 is quite an iconic twist that I feel people think is one of the worst of all time. It's for sure bad, but I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. That one is the Golden Key twist from BB13. The extension of the duo's twist where whoever stays of the duo on the block is given a golden key. A free ride to the final 10, basically. And that's the problem people had. These people were just chillin'. Couldn't win competitions, couldn't be nominated, they were just in the house as a figure. And while that can create less fun television, I think the dynamics that are there are interesting to me. It adds so many more layers to evictions and targets because you have to worry about not just who you're sending home, but who you are keeping until the final 10. If anything, who you're keeping is way more important than who you're sending home. You have to have the right people who will be on your side and players you are willing to take far into this game because their odds just increase due to surviving that eviction. It's not a lot, but that was enough to intrigue me to boost this twist up more than where I think a lot of people would have it, so I got it at 56. Number 55 is stupid. From Big Brother 25, it's the nomination competition. The twist that played out on premiere night where instead of competing for HOH, you compete to avoid being nominated. The 4 losers of each of these competitions were nominated, and the HOH winner determined in a different competition would choose to remove 2 of those 4 nominees, instead of nominating 2 different people, which gave us our nominees for the week. That's a damn mouthful, and this twist feels so unnecessary and unfair. People should not be evicted in week 1 because they lost a competition, but that is pretty much what happened to Kirsten, and it was pretty boring television and unfair for the HOH where they had almost no say in anything on who they want to target. So all of that combined makes it forgettable yet infuriating. So it's gonna land at 55. Number 54 is where things get weird. I never really knew how to gauge this twist in particular because it's an all-encompassing twist that has a bunch of twists that will come from it. So fuck it, I guess the Den of Temptation from BB19 is at number 54. I don't know, it's a weird and icky territory to try and figure out how this stacks up against all these other twists when this specific twist has like 3 different twists in it. Overall, as a concept, it's just a fan vote that gives one player the opportunity to take a potential game-changing power with some consequences that'll come with it. Very Pandora's Box coded, except I think Pandora's Box does it better in every single way. It's cool, but it gave us some overpowered fucking twists, I'll tell you what, so it's gonna land at 54. Number 53 is another all-encompassing twist, with that being the High Rollers Room in BB23. America basically voted for their favorites, and then based on how high you ranked, you get a certain amount of BB bucks. You could then use those to compete in a game each week to gamble on a certain advantage. And while I think the concept is pretty cool, I remember being extra down on this twist at the time because this quite literally determined who would be booted for the entire duration of the twist. Now, I think the cookout would have made it to the end regardless, but I mean, Brittany and Derek were targeted because they specifically were liked by America the most and had the most BB bucks at the time. So being well liked by America basically gave you a one-way ticket out of the game. And that's dumb, not very fair, and adds outside forces to influence the game. Again, I like the concept of the twist, but it played too much of a factor into the actual strategy, and I don't like that, so it's at 53. Number 52. Who would have guessed another all-encompassing twist? Because it's the Wackity competitions from BB21. Handing out powers, except it's more randoms and the comps don't morph into the actual gameplay. It's completely separate, and you get pretty useless powers unless you're Christy, and that's that. Not great, but it's better than these other twists that are very similar to it, so it's the highest of the bunch at 52. Number 51 is like, I don't know what to do with it. It's the BB swap from BB19. For those who don't know what that is, it's the twist that got Paul into the house, giving the house guest the temptation of money, but in exchange, we will be getting a 17th house guest that will replace Cameron, who was evicted on night 1. Nothing more to it, but we obviously know how Paul's return goes, so I'm pretty sure you can imagine why this is pretty low on the list. Number 50 is a twist that brought definite intrigue to the game, but also based on the dynamics of that game in particular, it didn't give us these great moments I think the twist was intending to give, and that is the Temptation competition, also from BB19. This was the random competition that played out during the Sunday episodes where you can opt to compete in this competition. If you do and you win, you're safe for the week, but if you compete and lose, you're the automatic third nominee. So it's a game of chance with some risk versus reward, which is fun. But because Jessica and Cody were the obvious targets the entire time, it's not very fun to watch the entire structure of the twist determine the fate of Jessica and Cody. The win got taken out of their sails just a little bit, which sounds about right for a modern day Big Brother twist, so it's right where it belongs, at the big number 50. Number 49 was a completely useless twist in action, and on paper, it's a little odd too, and that one is going to the round trip ticket from BB18, an excuse for somebody to come back into the game, and I will admit, I really did love the scavenger hunt and the phone booth mystery in order to get to the round trip ticket. That's such a fun scene on a show that never really delivers on the episodes themselves, so that's great, but I don't understand why everybody gets a ticket. What did Paul gain by actually cracking the code? Just some shitty odds to win a power. Granted, they did win the power, but that is not happening most of the time just based on statistics. And the twist was never actually used, so it's something that goes out in a whimper, which is much better than most of the twists we've talked about, but it's still not very good, which is why it's in the doo-doo tier, and it's landing at 49. We're getting close to wrapping up all of the all-encompassing twists I've been talking about, with the BB Multiverse from BB25 ranking at 48. The overall season theme that gave us a cool-looking house and some decent twists with a lot of shitty twists too. The biggest complaint I have about the BB Multiverse is that this gave Big Brother the need to add a twist or add a shakeup nearly every week of this season. Most of these twists were nothing, but we weren't ever seemingly given a normal week of Big Brother 25, and that takes away from the whole reason most of us talk and watch Big Brother. However, I don't think anything was truly game-breaking or ruined the season. I think there are a lot more factors that came into the downfall of Big Brother 25 than the multiverse in particular. But nothing really helped out this season. It's a net negative for sure, but not as bad as anything I've talked about thus far, which will rise it up to 48. Number 47 will allow me to wrap up all of the all-encompassing twists, so I don't have to talk about them anymore. The last one is the BB App Store from Big Brother 20. This was the twist where America would take these online quizzes and the most impressionable person, aka most popular, gets a power, while the least impressionable gets a punishment. Luckily, the punishments were all in just good fun and nothing too serious, but the powers, some of which we've already talked about, were all over the place. It's a fun concept to use as a way to give out powers and advantages, while still letting each player have a choice in the matter. And I think that idea of choice is what boosted it above the other things like the multiverse or the Den of Temptation, and it lands at 47, even though, again, I don't like Big Brother just giving out powers, but what are we gonna do? Now we have reached the final choice of our doo-doo tier, the best of these bad twists, in my opinion. It's going to the clicks from BB11. About as basic as a team's twist can be in Big Brother. Why I dislike this specific team's twist more than the others is because these teams were manufactured and chosen by production. Nobody wants to see all the athletes on the same team together, and the offbeat team is so disrespectful considering who was put on that team. And why the fuck is Brayden on the popular clique? He's just a racist, dude, whatever. The only real saving grace I have is I am including the Jesse and his return as a part of this twist. Not just Jesse himself, but whatever team won the first HOH will have a previous house guest that quote-unquote fits their clique return to the game and become that first HOH. That was fun to me. Depressing to see 3 people be robbed of returning, and extra depressing when the first HOH was so in the athlete's favor, but whatever. There's a glimmer of hope there, seeing the potential for Brian from BB10 to return, but also my heart got broken, so the clicks is gonna land at 46. It's the best of the worst, but it's still bad. Now we have moved on to the mid twist. All of these twists in this tier either have positives and negatives that kind of balance each other out, or are just straight up average or nothing twists. I'll be going a lot quicker through this tier, except for the twist at number 45. It's a very infamous twist in Big Brother history that has a ton of haters. I'm not one of them, which is why this twist is ranking higher than what I think most people would rank it at. That is Pandora's box. I know, that box has unleashed some stupid ass twists like the Diamond Power veto and the random fucking duo twist to save Rachel and Jordan. Those suck and are reasons why this twist isn't higher. I get the complaints simply because of those 2 twists. But I'm here to defend Pandora's box a little bit. We've gotten some really fun moments because of this twist. Come on, I can talk for a while about the positives. We have Natalie's awkward-ass proposal leading to the single worst lie in Big Brother history. It's so cringy, but so good. Rachel being let back into the game as Brendan is on vacation gave us Reagan versus Rachel, which is everything, one of the best fights in Big Brother history. I love Jesse being a literal punishment multiple times. I don't know, for me personally, the 2 really bad moments we've gotten from Pandora's box, we've been given twice as many good moments, if not more. I can't disagree with what my heart says, and my heart says this twist gets hated on way too much. So it's at 45. 44 was a twist that was never used. That one being the identity theft from BB20. Basically one of the BB App Store apps that you get to anonymously pick the initial noms for 1 week during the season. That's it. But it was never used. Twist is fine. I think it's pretty balanced overall with a little bit of unfairness, so it gets to land at 44 because I don't know how it would have played out. Number 43 was again a twist that wasn't exactly used. That one will be the double or nothing twist from BB23. This was the twist on premiere night that gave Frenchie, the first HOH, the chance to earn safety for all of his team for one more week if he won another competition. But if he lost that competition, he is dethroned as HOH, and if he does nothing, he's just a normal HOH. Sure, the twist is fine. I don't know many people who are actually going to take this twist because it only puts a larger target on your back and has the potential to backfire and make you be the first boot when you were guaranteed safety. But it's cool. Harmless, but cool. So 43, sure. We've got another super iconic twist landing at 42. Team America, baby. Basically a watered down version of America's Player. 3 people were selected by America, actually technically 4, but nobody talks about Joey. They all agree and bam, they have like a pre-made alliance made for the fans. AKA 3 white men, but that's whatever. Regardless, this is a mostly harmless twist in the fact that it gave us some really fun moments in the season without being super game changing. The only issue I have is that the 3 of them are basically forced to not go for each other in the early game, even though they really wanted to, especially Donnie. Donnie wanted Derek out so bad, but he just couldn't. I don't have a ton to say. It's pretty average, skewing negative, so it's at the bottom part of the mid-tier at 42. Another super fucking average and forgettable twist is the BB takeover from BB17. Unfortunately, I'm never gonna get "Who's ready for a takeover?" out of my head until the day I die, and that's the price I pay for watching fucking Big Brother. And the twist was whatever. We got Jackie and Jeff in the house from The Amazing Race. I think Gronk was there. What else happened? Fuck if I know, and fuck if I care. I'm moving on, the twist is boring. It's at 41. In at number 40, a super fucking average twist, in my personal opinion. It's going to the Nightmare Power from BB21. For those who have no idea what this is, I don't blame ya, because again, was it never used. This was part of the Wackity comps in the BB21 pre-jury, the darkest timeline in Big Brother history. Ovi won it, which basically meant after any nomination ceremony, he could force the HOH to nominate 2 different people for eviction, leaving the 2 original noms safe. Pretty dumb, right? Yeah. The only thing is that it never got used because Ovi was backdoored the same exact week. So yeah, the twist is a little dumb, could go very wrong, especially if it fell into the wrong person's hands. But it wasn't actually used, so we have no evidence on how it plays on TV. Number 40, sure. Number 39 is the Roadkill comp from BB18. One of those classic modern day BB twists so that they can put something on during the Sunday episodes. But I had a little bit of fun with this. Everybody competed in a Roadkill comp in this RV. The winner was secretly revealed and would have the power to add a 3rd nominee to the block. Pretty much the MVP twist, but with more control from the actual players. So it's a little strange that it's much higher on the list than the MVP twist was. But, like I said, I kinda liked all the comps that happened in the RV. A lot of them were very crapshooty and stupid, which is good. Big Brother needs to lean into the crapshooty a lot more. Number 38 is one of those twists from the High Rollers room in BB23. This one in particular is Chopping Block Roulette. One of the competitions you could have competed in those 3 weeks, where the winner of this one would be safe for the week and also could save one of the nominees. The only thing, if that nominee was saved, the replacement nom would be decided by random chance. Why is it random? I get why it's random, that's the whole point of the roulette twist, but it's dumb that it's random. I don't enjoy the entire game being messed with because of nothing but pure luck. The thinking was there, but when we break it all down, at least in my head, I'm not a fan of randomness, so it's at number 38, because other than that, it's pretty harmless. Wow, isn't this crazy? Number 37 is America's Prankster, which is exactly like the Chopping Block Roulette twist, except the replacement has no randomness. Cool. Number 36 is one of those random powers from BB22, the worst of them all being the replay power. This is the power where you can choose an outgoing HOH to be able to compete in next week's HOH. I don't like the HOH being able to compete in the next HOH. That's dumb, and if the power fell into the wrong hands, this could have been really bad, and a lot of people could have been really outraged. Not to mention, there's no benefit of using this twist on yourself, as it only makes you a bigger target to compete in back-to-back HOHs. So what good does it do? Most of the time, it's not going to mean shit. But I guess when a lot of Big Brother twists are really shitty, something being useless is a lot better than that, so it makes it all the way up to number 36. Number 35 is the Silver Power of Veto. Pretty iconic for being basic as fuck. I have no idea why production had to have the Silver Power of Veto first to realize that not being able to use the veto to save yourself if you're nominated was really dumb. So players who were nominated in BB3 got nothing from winning this veto. If anything, you had to purposely lose this veto for someone else to use it on you. But I guess it added some different dynamics which were fun enough, and the season wasn't broken because of this veto. It's a really great season regardless, so sure, it can be up at 35. Number 34 is the joint HOH that happened in week 1 of Big Brother All-Stars. 2 people won HOH, they had to agree on their nominations together, or else they would be the ones who were nominated. A fun concept that can maybe bring out some multi-layered strategy, but it's not an overly notable twist, and something I wouldn't want to see for more than 1 week at a time, because there aren't that many fun things that can come from this twist, so it's at 34. Does anybody remember the fucking neighbors house twist in BB22 where Dr. Will just kind of showed up and made a cameo because it's All Stars? Yeah, me neither. The twist is fucking harmless. Sure, it's at 33. See, now if we're actually talking harmless twists, the Nether region is a harmless twist. I put this one over the neighbor's house because it's more memorable, maybe because it happened recently, but also like, come on, the neighbor's house fucking sucks. And I kind of like the stupid fucking story lore they're trying to make. And they had like the fucking big bad in there for that one HOH. Aside from that, a couple people were given safety. Heisem freaked the hell out. It was a good time. Not a great time, but like a stupid time. So sure, it's 32. Number 31 is the Veto Derby from BB23. This is one of those roulette power ones that let somebody bet on somebody else to win the POV. If they won it, the person who bet on them will also get a veto. Sure. Harmless with some positives to it. It's solid. 31. Sure. The next 2 twists are pretty much the same thing, just tweaked a little bit. Number 30 is the Chaos Power. The twist where you can make the people redraw the veto chips. That's it. Again, pretty useless. And number 29 is the Ring of Replacement, where you can swap with somebody drawn for the veto, and that's it. It's a little better than the Chaos Power, and that's why it's 1 spot higher. Both of these, so harmless. The next 3 twists all ranked together because they all do about the same thing, and again, aren't very notable. Number 28 is the Blocker from BB22. You get to prevent somebody, including yourself, from being nominated at a veto meeting. Cool. Won't be useful most of the time, so it's at the bottom of these very similar powers. Number 27 is the Cloud from BB20. Tyler's power, where it's the exact same thing as the Blocker, except you can choose to do this at a nomination ceremony as well as a veto meeting. Cool. And number 26 is the Disruptor from BB22. You can choose to save one of the 2 initial nominees and force the HOH to nominate somebody else at the meeting. It adds more intrigue and gave us one of the only good moments of BB22 with David's bad acting, so congrats. It's the highest of the 3 very similar powers that are all very meaningless. Number 25 is the most baseline twist to ever exist in Big Brother. I'm sure most of you don't even remember this existing. It's the Tree of Temptation from BB19. You get the chance to select an apple that could give you a prize or give you a punishment. The issue is that it was only used 1 time in the 3 weeks it existed and didn't mean much of anything because Mark still went home. It most certainly exists. I do think I'm going to have to explain myself on why I have the power of invincibility from BB25 all the way up here at number 24. Hear me out, y'all. The twist pretty much plays like an idol. You have to pick one of the two nominees to save before the eviction goes through. So if you happen to be wrong about which nominee you think will be going home, it's flushed down the toilet, nothing happens, blah blah blah. So, at the very least, you need to be in the know and avoid any potential blindsides in order for this power to work. Add that onto the voting factor, which normally is not loved by many in the online Big Brother community, where America gets to choose who gets to do stuff. But instead of just handing somebody a power like they did with Big Jeff with the Coup de Jeff, they gave the top 4 an opportunity to secretly compete in a competition, and an equitable competition at that. It adds a lot more layers where nobody would theoretically know who has this power, and if it wasn't for Matt's big mouth, nobody except Suri would have known he won the power to save Jag, which can bring me to my final point. That moment of Jag being saved was incredible television. It was a main factor as to why the first half of that season was so great. A lot of people are probably going to use the halting hex as a comparison, and as you can see with all these twists in between, I have the halting hex much lower because I believe it played out, 1, so much better, and 2, I think the concept of it is much more well executed. Not saying I want to see this back anytime soon or ever, but I think in the one time it did happen, I think it brought fun. It was part of the good part of BB25. So yeah, it adds more layers to the gameplay. It's pretty balanced, and I think it played out well on the show. We're 3 for 3, so I can excuse some of the negative aspects on it and boost this twist all the way up to number 24, in my opinion. Number 23 is Big Brother once again using a public vote correctly. This time, America's Field Trip from BB21. It quite literally allowed us to give a big fuck you to Jackson, Annalise, and Christy for being unlikable and or racist all season by letting them know America hates you and watching them fight for their lives. I loved it. Practically, I don't really care about anything else. I just love the moment the 3 of them realize nobody on the outside world likes them, and that's enough for me to be a pretty good twist in Big Brother. The bars in hell. Number 22 is the wildcard competition from BB23. Remember when BB23 had 4 teams? Yeah, that was random, but this middle of the week comp was actually pretty fun. It's very complex, where each team that doesn't have the HOH will be selecting 1 member per week to compete in the wildcard competition. The winner of that will be given the choice to take a certain advantage, mostly safety with other stipulations attached to it, but it was always a matter of risk versus reward, which I do like sometimes. Twists that give options are always the better twist, and nothing that was given out was super overpowered or completely broke the game, so I very much approve of this twist as an early season thing that only exists to give content to the Sunday episodes. But sure, I'm not mad at it. We're moving back to old school again, and this is where they had the POV competitions play before the nominations were made for like 2 weeks in BB4. Do I know why this happened? Not really, but it adds a unique layer to the game while not breaking the game at the same time. It's a little switch up that I wouldn't mind seeing sometime in the future with a modern Big Brother game, so because I actually don't want to never see this again, I think it's fair enough to rank this highly at number 21. The next 2 twists are pretty much the same thing, so I'm going to talk about them back to back. 20 is the power of multiplicity from BB25. This week had 2 veto competitions and 2 different veto holders. I think that's fun, and it led to one of the bigger blindsides of that season, taking down AmeriCorey. It's cool. Don't mind it. Sure. Number 19 is the Golden Ball of Veto from BB14, when a random claw machine existed and a second veto was released into the game. I just think it was more equitable and random as to who would be getting this veto, which is why it ranks just above the power of multiplicity. But these are pretty much the exact same twist. It's 2 vetoes in a week instead of 1, which I don't mind from time to time. Number 18 is a twist I have no idea what to call, except for it's Suri when she entered the game in BB25. There's nothing else to it except for Big Brother wanting Suri in the game, so they added her to the game. And it's this high because it's Suri fucking Fields. There's nothing else to explain. I don't know what to tell you. And now we've reached number 17. This is the final twist in this middling tier. The best of the average, if you may say. And while yes, the twist flamed out horribly, which is why it doesn't move up a tier, I still really enjoyed the concept and would have loved to see what it looked like actually being played out. And that is the Saboteur twist from BB12. I don't know what to tell you. If somebody is willingly taking the role of not giving a damn about winning and is just here to survive 5 weeks and cause chaos, why would we ever say that's a bad thing? I swear, people just hate to see fun. I have so much blind optimism that the Saboteur twist would work in another timeline that it single-handedly carried itself all the way to the top of this middling tier. But we also can't ignore, in good faith, that it failed miserably. So I can't be blind for that long. Nothing game-altering is gonna come from the Saboteur twist, just a cast member willing to mess with everybody. So sure, give me that all day. We're up a tier, baby, and the top 16 I have are all twists that I believe are positive to neutral to great. No real glaring negative aspects, and all twists to some extent I would not mind see back, or I'm happy that these are staples in Big Brother to this day. But the bottom two here are both somewhat similar twists that surround returning players. Number 16 in particular is the Stowaways twist from BB18. The twist that let Nicole, Devon, James, and Frank all back into the game for a second chance. People will compare this twist to a similar one that might be my number 15, and that's very fair. This is a watered down version of that twist where they form teams that are led by these stowaways, but the stowaways are just normal players in the game. It's a fine twist if you want to bring back returning players. Cool. And for number 15, you guessed it, I have the Coaches twist from BB14. The infamous season with 4 returning players, bringing back Dan, Janelle, Brittany, and some other dude as icons of the game. But for this iteration, they're not players. They select their teams, and the twist at face value has them simply coaching the players that they draft on their team. Once all of their players are out of the game, so is that coach. And if one of their players wins the game, that coach will take home $100,000. That in itself is a unique concept and brings a lot of fun to the game in my opinion. The lives of these coaches are in other people's hands, and how do they maneuver with that in mind? But there's an obvious elephant in the room, the reset button. I did not include that as its own twist and actually included it as a part of this twist because, let's be real, the reset button was always going to be a thing from the start. These coaches were going to come back into the game. It just depended when they would introduce the reset button. Which does bring out some shady behavior from production, like why conveniently the week Frank was about to go home, the reset button shows its pretty little head, but I digress. I still think the idea of bringing legends to the game of Big Brother to play a completely different game while being in no immediate danger of going home, while also giving them the opportunity to compete as players is unique to Big Brother as a format, and I look upon it in a positive way. I know people won't agree with that statement, but I feel it brought good television, great players, and good gameplay all slapped into one season-defining twist. Even if the details suck, like the coaches having no chance to win, that's not taking away from this twist. That is detriment of the players that were cast on that season. So all of that rambling to say, the coaches twist is low-key underrated. It's gonna land at 15 for me. Number 14 is a twist that is still used in every season of Big Brother to date, but a twist that I feel needed only one more tweak to become truly great, which is why it's not as high as that other twist. This one being 6 people competing in the power of veto instead of everybody. This makes way more sense than everybody in the house competing in this competition. The stakes are raised and there is more strategy involved, knowing not everybody will have the opportunity to win the veto. This leads to an evolution of strategy in Big Brother that I think works so well for the show, and this twist is one of the biggest factors for that. It's not a flashy or complex twist, but an absolute positive for the game of Big Brother, so it's going to rank up here at number 14. Number 13 is one of the few post-COVID Big Brother twists that I actually don't hate with every fiber of my being, and I wouldn't mind seeing it be brought back by any means. That one being the Safety Suite from BB22. What can I say? I think this twist is a perfect early game Big Brother twist. You give everybody an opportunity to play and fight for their lives with a lot of strategy involved. When do you choose to play your VIP ticket? If you wait too long, you'll have to compete against more people, and if you're the HOH, do you become more quiet about who your nominees will be to get more people to play in the safety suite? I think it's such a great twist to give the minority and the underdogs a chance to fight in the game, while also not screwing anybody over unless your name is Keisha. There's truly nothing that I think is actively flawed about this twist, except that the last week is pretty lame compared to the first two because it's just all the leftovers competing because they have to. Overall, I really like this twist for what it is, and like I said, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing this back in the future. It's a good one. These next three twists are all casting twists. All unique casting twists in the Big Brother cinematic universe. Twists that I think added more to the season without taking too much away from what Big Brother is at its core, only adding on to it with these new casting dynamics. I'll talk about number 12 first, the X Factor twist from BB4. Call me toxic, but I think watching people have to play a game against their exes or people from their past is fun. And exes are quite literally the best previous relationship you could possibly get. As long as we don't have any terrible people being casted, I'm all for this because it just adds more to the game. We're allowed to explore and see how these dynamics of these exes develop while the game is still being played like it would on any other season. I look at casting twists like this as a cherry on top of the Big Brother Sundae, and who doesn't like a good cherry? The only issue I have on why this is lower than some of the other casting twists is that we don't know anything about these exes or their history before the show. So it's way more impactful to the people on the season than the actual audience watching the season. But I still think it's good. It's at number 12. Number 11 is the casting twist that happened the very next season. Project DNA. And I know there are two parts to this Project DNA twist, but for this specific placement, I'm only including the secret brother-sister relationship between Nokomis and Cowboy. Simply because that is in-fucking-sane. To cast two people who have the same father in the house to reconnect while they have no idea, letting them figure that out on their own, is nothing short of one of the craziest things that's ever happened on Big Brother. It's so unique to the show's history, and that's all I can really say about it. It's not game-breaking, not even game-altering, just extremely fascinating, and that's better than every twist I've talked about so far, so it's gonna land up here at number 11. We're just knocking off these casting twists back to back to back, and this one I have at number 10 above the other two I just talked about, mostly because I think it brought the most to its specific season. This one is the Rivals twist from BB8. Dick and Danielle and their relationship was BB8, whether you like it or not. Those who like or love this season feel that way, mostly because of Dick and Danielle and their story that they went through. None of that is happening without this twist. Yes, maybe the Joe and Dustin thing was really icky, and Jessica and Carol were barely a rivalry, but Dick and Danielle is so impactful to the history of Big Brother that I simply can't do anything but appreciate this twist for giving us that. I'm sorry I'm not sorry, but of these three casting twists that only involve certain house guests, Rivals is the one that turned out the best, and so I'm ranking it as such because it impacted Big Brother in the most positive way. Number 9, we got a twist that has only happened one time in one season, but in the future I would not be surprised to see it pop its head out again, and that is the triple eviction that took place in BB 22. Yes, I know it flopped miserably because Julie had the words triple eviction right behind her head, but the triple eviction in this specific format, where it's literally just 2 double evictions back to back, is fun. I like the idea that quite literally anything could happen and anybody could go home that night. Even in a regular double eviction, you can at least predict or have an idea of what happens, but a triple is 2 rounds in the future and you have no idea what's about to go down. So that all was really fun and kind of why I'm pro triple eviction. The only con I really have that will move it at the very least below the double eviction, spoiler alert, is that it's not very memorable. Yes, maybe that's because Big Brother 22 sucked all the way around, and if we got another triple eviction, that one could be super iconic, but I think it would be really hard to fully remember what the hell just happened when 3 people get evicted in one night. Everything jumbles together and takes away from the great television we do get from a normal double eviction. I think a triple eviction works, but it might be too much happening in one night that I definitely don't need it every season. But every once in a while, bring it up and shake up the game. I think more times than not, it's going to work out in the season's favor. I'll cut to the chase because my number 8 is a double eviction, but it's not the one you're thinking of. Possibly my hottest take of the entire video, but I really do love the split house double eviction that happened on BB24. Now I think I sound stupid because I quite literally hate when the exact same thing happens on Survivor. Everybody's merged together and then they just split them off into two groups and each group votes somebody out. I hate that, but I think in Big Brother it works for me. To start on why it's different from Survivor, the game starts with everybody together. There are no teams, and these people are not split up into tribes. So splitting them up into two groups is unique to the show and something we don't see ever. Splitting these players up gives so many new opportunities to players to swing for the fences or play a more bold game than what they've been playing before. I think Alyssa is the prime example as somebody who didn't really have a voice in the game and was on the outs. All of a sudden, she turns around and becomes a main character on her side of the house, and that really is her shining moment in the season. That opportunity would be there for so many other players who don't end up getting that time to shine if this twist did not exist. And I thought it was good TV. The dynamics of not knowing what is going on between the two houses created more drama than what would have actually been there. While I think a regular double eviction is better because of the simple fact that, spoiler alert, it's high on the list, adding a unique spin to a double eviction will work more often than not for me. And while Joseph got screwed over, so to speak, this gave more opportunity for the underdog to take over and survive while still giving that same chance, if not an even better chance, for Joseph to either win HOH or win the POV. It just so happens the one season it took place, we did not like the underdog as much. So most people were mad when Joseph went home. I will scream it until I can't scream anymore that the split house is a good twist in Big Brother. One of the best. And it should come back sooner rather than later. Maybe if they tweaked a few things and the live feeds weren't so shit that week, I think more people would be on board because I think as a concept, as an idea, it's good. Argue with a wall, it's my number 8. Number 7 is a twist that was so vital and so important to the shaping of Big Brother that because of that factor alone, it's gotta rank extremely high. And that one will be the random selection of players for the POV competition. Fundamentally, one of the most important twists out there. If we were left with the HOH nominees selecting who they wanted to compete in the veto, Big Brother's probably not here today because that would have tanked so many future seasons of the show. You have to give the underdog a chance, and the method of selecting who you want to compete just leads to Majority Alliance steamrolling and backdooring whoever they want without giving them an opportunity. I think we fully understand why it's important. The only reason this twist is not higher on the list and didn't crack the top tier is because this was an obvious change for me. It simply makes too much sense to randomize who competes in veto, especially after seeing the format be broken because of the 6-finger plan. So while I really do appreciate this twist and it's pretty much perfect in its format today, how much credit can I really give Big Brother for doing the obvious thing to make sure they didn't break their game? You may not like that reasoning. I'm picking at straws here, but that is what I used to separate these twists at the top tier here, and what left this twist right below it at number 7. Alright, nobody told me that I put all these twists I just talked about in the wrong tier, so I moved them. Ignore that, it's fine, doesn't really matter. We're like way too deep in this video for me to care enough. But we've officially reached the top tier. These are the actually good twists of Big Brother that I feel are the best of the best. The ones that stand above the others as the overtly positive and the best decisions production has made in the show's history. The only question now is the order of these 6, and what will eventually become my choice for the greatest twist in the history of Big Brother, and it might surprise you, so if you made it this far, I highly recommend you watch until the very end. But we gotta get through the rest of these, starting with my number 6, the bottom of the top tier, may be a little controversial, but I don't care what you say. I have All Stars at my number 6. And by that, I mean the idea of making a season of Big Brother composed entirely of returning players, which they've done on BB7 and BB22. Simply put, an All-Star season is like the Super Bowl of these reality shows, especially in Big Brother, which has only done a returning season twice. Have you seen the cast of BB7? That's one of the greatest assortments of players for a season of reality TV I've ever seen. And even in BB22, I know the outcome sucks, but you can't tell me we're not jumping out of your chair looking at some of the names we're about to see compete in modern day Big Brother. These casts and these twists bring out your inner child again. You get memories of watching these people when you were younger, and that feeling, for me personally, is one of the greatest things I could get from these shows. I hate that I feel like I have to defend this twist and its high ranking because we all know what an All-Star season brings, but for me personally, there's almost nothing more exciting than watching a full cast of returning players go out and play the game they love one last time. Why do you think the internet speculates every season could be All-Stars again? Because we love the idea of All-Stars. And that's why it's in the top tier of twists in Big Brother history. Top 5, baby. And now we get to talk about one of the more iconic twists in Big Brother history, something we look forward to every season, and it usually delivers. That is double eviction night, baby. The double eviction is such a simple concept that is executed brilliantly. Why don't we take the normal format of Big Brother, an HOH, nominations, POV, and eviction that takes place over a week, and shorten it to where it takes place in about 40 minutes as we watch the fireworks go. It's so good. Some of my all-time favorite Big Brother moments come from double evictions because everything is so fast-paced. You don't have the time to fact-check or come up with a master scheme. Everything happens right there in the moment, and sometimes we get lovely television. The Jeff blindside, the Judd blindside, the Alyssa blindside, and even the Michael eviction were all great moments and some of the peak points of their respective seasons. There's a reason double eviction nights are hyped up every single time they occur, because you can't be fully prepared for what is about to happen and can't wait to watch someone's dreams get broken. And even when the double evictions aren't great, it speeds up a week that normally would have been boring and agonizing to sit through, so while we may be disappointed in the moment, the double eviction saves us from watching the equivalent of paint drying. And when a double eviction is great, like I said, it's peak Big Brother. I love the double eviction. I want to do a video ranking on all the double evictions sometime this season, and that is the power of this twist and why it ranks all the way up here at number 5. Number 4 is one of the biggest failed twists in the history of Big Brother, right up there with the Saboteur. But god damn it, you're not about to sit up here and tell me this is not one of the most interesting casting twists to ever exist, and I'm so mad it never got to live out its full potential. That is the secret pairings twist from Big Brother 6. Ooh, I get heartbroken when I think about it all over again. At surface level, let me refresh your mind on what this twist was. Every house guest came into the game with a secret pair, somebody that they knew on the outside world, and while the game would be run as individuals, if both members of this secret pair reach the final 2, the winner will receive $1 million, while the runner-up will receive $250,000. But wait, there's more. Every single secret pair went into that house being told they were the only secret pair. They were the special twist of the season. Everybody else was just strangers, while each secret pair thought they had a leg up on the competition. That is so damn good. Having each pair thinking they were the big duo of the season is the closest thing to genius I can imagine in terms of Big Brother production cooking up a twist. I don't think there is another twist in the show aside from potentially my number 3 that is so creative and so well thought through. That easily made this a top tier twist because that is a social experiment, baby. They were in their bag. The only reason I can't put this any higher than number 4 is what I alluded to earlier. The twist failed miserably. Not in terms of ruining the season, but when you imagine this twist turning out the best way it possibly could, now imagine the complete opposite happening, and that is what we got here. It didn't even survive the first week, and quite literally every single pair was discovered and put out into the open. So all the fun is gone, and we are just stuck with a duos twist without them being an actual duos. And while I love the idea of this twist, of course, I do think if the season plays out 100 times, more often than not, these pairs are going to be found out fairly quickly, and this twist won't work out the way producers intended it. So that's what halted it from being a potential number 1 placement. It's still a great idea, Big Brother, don't get me wrong. I don't know if they could do it again. I would love if they do it again. But as an idea, as a concept, one of the greatest things Big Brother has ever done. We're at the top 3. 3 really great twists, but I had to make a decision on where these would be placed. And my top 2 twists, I have absolutely zero complaints about. No notes, perfection for what they bring. Whereas my number 3 has one flaw to it. To no fault of the twist itself, but more to the people involved in one of these scenarios. So welcome the twin twist to the number 3 placement. I really wish the BB17 twin twist didn't exist because they fucked up the reputation of the twist so bad. That is the one flaw I see and why this was an easy number 3 instead of a possible debate for number 1. But this is my video, so I don't have to talk about BB17, so I'm going to gush about why the twin twist in BB5 was perfection. And I think the twins failing in BB17 gives more credibility to how perfect this truly was on its original outing. Identical twins playing Big Brother as one person, switching in and out every few days while only having literal minutes to inform each other on what is going on throughout the game, hurts my brain in the best way possible. Adria and Natalie, the icons you are for pulling this off without a single person having any clue. Now granted, there is no way to actually know that a pair of twins are switching in and out, but these are people you are living with and talking to 24/7. It's insane how flawlessly they executed this to where nobody, even for a half a second, was like, that's weird. And of course, the entire purpose of this twist was that if the twins can make it past a certain point in the game, they would be able to compete in the game individually as two people. It only boons BB5 and its legacy. There are stakes. It's not overpowered in any direction, and it makes for amazing television. One of the most iconic moments in Big Brother history is the reveal of the twins. If BB17 didn't happen, I wouldn't have a bad thing to say about this. It's an elite twist in the history of Big Brother. Number 3 specifically. The top 2, one that's super obvious, and one that I feel is also pretty obvious, but most wouldn't think of it as a twist, but I absolutely do. And in what may be a hashtag blindside, I'm saving that one for later, as my number 2 twist of all time, the runner-up, is going to the golden power of veto. We all know what the golden power of veto does. If you've watched any Big Brother and or are clicking on this video, you know what it does and why it's so great, especially when you compare it to the silver power of veto, something you couldn't even use to save yourself if you want it. The golden POV is the perfect middle ground. That is Big Brother. Each week of the show consists of an HOH and a POV, but the HOH was always there, so the POV was an addition to shake up the weeks. And because of the veto, we've been given some of the all-time greatest moments in Big Brother history. My 3 favorite moments in the history of Big Brother all occur because of the veto existing. That is Marcellus not using the veto, that is Dan blindsiding Shane, and that is Dan's funeral. The veto changed Big Brother completely, and that is for the better, and I have to respect it with at least a top 2 placement. The only reason it's not number 1 is because, for one, this is kind of the boring pick, the obvious pick to be at 1, and I needed some spice. But I also feel like my number 1 pick is something where, had it not existed, Big Brother would not be here today. Big Brother would not be the same as it is today, and the entire landscape of Big Brother would be different, in a bad way, without my number 1 pick. So sorry to the golden power of veto, but you're sliding down to silver, ironically enough, and will be landing at number 2. Number 1. The greatest twist and the greatest decision Big Brother has ever made in the history of the show is undoubtedly sequestering the jury. As most of you know, Big Brother didn't always have the jury house and the jury segments and all of that stuff. In BB2 and BB3, when you got voted out, you'd just go home. You could watch all the episodes, watch the live feeds, do whatever you want. And then you'd be brought back and vote for a winner at the end of it. I hate that, and I hate everything about it. My little game body mind wants zero outside influence to affect the ending of this game. I want the game to be in its own separate little bubble like Survivor has been since day 1. Everything that happens and all the ideas and opinions need to come from this cast and only this cast. And because of this, we were potentially robbed of Danielle Reyes being a Big Brother winner. She might lose either way, but damn, she was not winning because they did not sequester the jury, and the jury saw the entire season play out and saw how Danielle's backstabbed a lot of people. I want people to have all the information they need to decide a jury vote without being influenced by outside forces. Insert sequestering the jury. After the tragedy that was Danielle losing the game, Big Brother switched things up. The jury no longer consisted of literally everybody on the cast, and now those who made it to the jury phase would go to a jury house to be sequestered until the finale. This saved Big Brother. It really did. The entire point of a social experiment is to keep it as a social experiment. It sounds really bad, but I want to keep these people in a box to make their own decisions and be left to come up with their own conclusions on who a winner of the season should be. And not only from a jury perspective, but from a house perspective. Nobody being able to watch back the season before the finale allows so much more freedom to the people on the season. They can talk as much shit in the diary room as humanly possible and be entertaining without any blowbacks. This is how we get villains. This is how we get entertaining and fun players and entertaining and fun winners because of this twist. Without it, we're left with a bunch of people sucking up and playing the game in a super boring way. And like I said, if the show kept that pace, I don't think it's here today. And there's no other twist in the show's history that I can confidently say that statement about, which makes this twist, in my opinion, the greatest in the history of Big Brother, bar none. I'm free. There's no more talking about Big Brother. Shit, Big Brother 26 is like less than a week away, isn't it? Son of a bitch. I guess I'm trapped for the summer too, but you know what? It's fine. I'm going to be doing a deep dive on everything that has to do with Big Brother during the summer, both US and Canada, may she rest in peace. Catch some Survivor videos headed your way, so the feed is not oops all Big Brother. And in the immediate future, I'll be talking and giving my opinions on the cast of Big Brother 26, the new people who are either going to thrive or ruin their lives as we know it. We'll find out soon enough which one that is, but expect that video after the season starts so I can give my mind a little rest and have more concrete opinions on this cast while we actually see them playing the game. And I think that's gonna do it. Summer has officially begun now that it's Big Brother season, and I'm so ready to dive in and cleanse my palate and hate myself all over again. And if you made it to the end of this video, I love ya. Platonically, of course, and I will undoubtedly see ya when I see ya. Bye-bye.